Welcome to the ELPA 21 TA training. My name is Danielle Stewart and my phone number is 968-3106 for office. My cell phone is 264-7877. We are going to be covering information that's in the ELPA 21 Test Administration Manual. The link to the manual for ELPA 21 is here at this link. It's in the live binder, and I believe a copy will be provided for you for this training. The ELPA 21 test is an English language proficiency test, and we test our K through 12 ELLs to see how their English language is progressing. There are 4 domains: reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and these are all aligned with Common Core state standards. To be able to be a TA, a test administrator, here are the qualifications. The state assessment must be administered by licensed, trained staff members who have experience with ELLs. It must be a certified employee. Volunteers or other proctors can assist in the administration of any state assessment, but they have to only be supervising students who need a break, need a tissue, but they cannot actually administer the test. For the security and professional code of conduct, the items appearing on the online and paper pencil test forms are all secure items, so no portion of the test may be documented, discussed, photos duplicated, etc. If they need to use the digital notepad or scratch paper, that's okay, but all scratch paper must be collected and accounted for and immediately returned to your school test coordinator at the end of the session. This includes all online test usernames and passwords also must be kept in a secure location and returned to the school test coordinator at the end of the session. The grade bands and ratios are very similar from last year's test. The difference between this year's test and last year is simply that there is a new testing platform that is being used. Instead of Questar, we are using a platform called AIR. But a lot of the guidelines and ratios are very similar. For example, last year it was the same. For 5 kindergarten students, you need at least 1 licensed proctor. And for a grade band 9 through 12, for 20 students, you need at least 1 licensed proctor. You can have more than 5 kindergarten students within one room, but you need a licensed proctor for every 5 students. We can stretch that recommendation to probably 2, give or take, on either side, but we need to stay very close to what the Department of Education has issued as their recommendations for the grade bands and the ratios. What materials you will need for testing: you'll need your test tickets, and those should be given to you by your school test coordinator. Test tickets are secure materials and must be treated as such, so make sure you return them at the end of the session. The ELPA 21 Accessibility and Accommodations Manual if needed, but I'm pretty sure your STC will know what's needed on that part. Your Test Administration Manual, which is what we're covering right now, you should also get a copy of that. Directions for your test administration, including your paper pencil K1 writing and large print forms. That will be just for kindergarten, and first grade will have paper parts of testing. The rest of us will have online testing. You'll need scratch paper, and then your headsets, the same headsets you used last year. That will have the headphones, but also definitely a recordable microphone. You want to make sure before and that all your headsets work and that the microphones do in fact record. You need access to a mouse. Students should test on a computer that they're very familiar with. So in elementary, if they're used to going to a computer lab, that's probably where they should test. If they're testing on different devices, then we need to run through the practice test on those devices with the students. If you're using a tablet, you need an external keyboard also. Can you assist with the computer? Yes, you may. You cannot suggest answers, you cannot comment or evaluate the student work, or give verbal or nonverbal cues, but you can assist the students with online skills like scrolling, selecting a response, dragging and dropping, showing them how to click, showing them how to start and stop, and this is very beneficial for our younger students as well as our self-contained students that may not be able to physically move the mouse, we are okay to have them point at the screen and then we can help manipulate the computer for them. How many times can a student listen to the prompts? For speaking and for listening, the prompts or the speaking chances, there are 2 times for each. So for example, on the speaking part, they can record themselves twice, but if you push record the second time, if they're not happy with the first time they recorded it, it will erase the first time they spoke. So make sure and practice this with them during the practice test. For the listening portion of the test, they can hear it 2 times, but remember, once those 2 times are up, it moves on. Now, if they have IEPs, then they have unlimited recordings and unlimited replays. Directions for the practice test can be found in the TA manual, which is what we're going over now. The practice test will be set up just exactly like the actual real live test. So the more the students can practice this practice test, the better they'll be prepared for the actual test. Can you pause a test during the middle of the test? Yes, the answer is you absolutely can. However, there are some things that will happen when you pause a test. Students can pause their test at any time. They will be presented with a warning message asking them to verify if they want to pause the test. If they choose to pause the test, they will be logged out of the test. When they resume the test, the first page that they were on with the unanswered questions will pop up. They'll be able to change answers they've already done, or they can continue with the current test, including previous pages, but they cannot go back to previous tests. They can only finish what's in that domain. If their test is idle for 20 minutes, the system will automatically log them out. And answers are saved immediately, so if the test does go off or you have a pause, when you go back on, it'll pick back up right where it left off, so don't fear there. So the listening and reading tests are very similar to the way it was last year. At the beginning of every test domain, I believe it will ask them to test their headphones and their sound to make sure that they can record and hear in their headphones. If they don't work, just have the students raise their hand and you'll help them get a different set of headphones. During the listening test, students will hear the prompts through their headphones and they will have to respond by clicking on multiple choice answers or dragging or dropping a graphic or a piece of text. In the reading part, it's the same, except instead of responding to what they hear, they will be reading passages, correspondence, informational text, things like that, and they'll demonstrate the comprehension by answering multiple choice questions, and they also have drag and drop. So you can see that one theme is for sure that they have practiced dragging and dropping, and for our little ones, it's really essential to their success on the test that we practice that practice test of dragging and dropping, dragging and dropping. It's very important for them. And then for the writing test, it's a little bit different K through 12. So for the younger kids, especially K and 1, they will have an actual paper-based part of the test where they will demonstrate knowledge of writing by dragging, on the online part, they'll drag and drop letters to form words, and then they'll drag words to form complete sentences. But they're also going to have a supplemental writing part of the test that's paper and pencil, and this is separate. The paper writing booklet should be administered immediately after students complete the online writing test. If the paper writing supplement cannot be administered in the same session as the online portion, it should be administered as closely as possible. So you want to keep the writing portion with the writing portion for K and 1, so the paper part and the online part. For secondary, for the higher grades, the students will just have a writing prompt. They'll have a box they type in to answer that writing prompt. The speaking portion of the test is pretty much the same, K through 12. They will hear a response, they will hear a prompt, and they will have to create a response. They can start the recording by pushing record, then they push stop, then they can listen to the icon, and it's a little listen icon, and then if they are satisfied with it, they can continue to the next prompt, or they can record one more time, but remember they get 2 times. So how do you log on to the test? Here's what it looks like. That's what the login looks like, and there should be a secure browser button that is already on your desktop. To access the ELPA 21 portal, here is the address. You select your user role, and that is Test Administrator. You log in as it appears. Your username will be your russellvilleschools.net email, and then your password, and then it is a secure login. Once you're logged on, you will be able to begin a test session, and you will have a test window where you select which test you want to start. And so in this graphic, it shows you a practice test, but yours will actually be the live test. You will click Start Session when the session ID appears at the top of the page. You will provide the session ID to the students signing into your test sessions. You will have students log on to the secure browser using their first name, their SSID, and their session ID from that previous step, and that's what it'll look like. Students will need to be approved for testing. When students select their test, the approvals box in the upper right corner of the test administration site shows notifications. To click approvals to view the list of students awaiting approval. To review and edit a student's test settings or accommodations, you can click the little I button. To approve an individual student for testing, you can click the green checkbox, and to deny a student, you can push the red X. To approve all students in the list to start the test, you can just click the Approve All Students tab, and it will start the test. You need to monitor students' progress throughout the testing. Students' test statuses will appear in the Students in Your Test Session table. So those statuses include approved, started, in progress, review, completed, submitted, and paused. Remember, if you pause a student after 20 minutes, it will kick them out, and you'll have to log back on to change answers to questions in the current test, but they can't access a previous test. To stop the test, you click the red stop sign button, and to log out, you click the log out button, and this is what you will see. The difference from this year's test to last year's is students will enter the information from the test tickets. They will respond, yes, this is me, and check their demographics. Then the teacher will read the directions. After the teacher reads the directions, the teacher will start the test. And so last year, once they entered their information in, the test started automatically, and so all the students were at different parts depending on when they entered their information in. This year, the teacher has to start the test, and everybody starts at the same time. Returning materials, make sure that test booklets, test tickets, the paper writing, the scratch paper, all of those need to be returned as secure testing materials to your school test coordinator at the end of the session. And you must account and collect for all the testing materials before you let the students go. If you need help during the testing, the first place you need to stop and contact is your building test coordinator, which is your counselor in most cases. At the high school, it will be the assistant principal. Your building level test coordinator will contact me if they cannot assist you, and worst case scenario, I can contact the district test coordinator or the help desk to get the answers that we need. But always start first with your building person. Okay, that is the conclusion of our test administrator manual training. I need you to please sign the security agreement, and before you leave, sign the sign-in sheet and the security agreement to say that you have had this training. And I really appreciate you taking the time for the training, testing our precious ESL students, and for taking the time out of your schedule to test the ELPA 21. We all know these results are very important in their progress of their English learning. So thank you.